So let's preview the last 16 matchups at Euro 2020. Now the bracket is set over at Pro Soccer Talk on NBCSports.com. You can check out the full schedule, how to watch the games, the live betting odds, everything you need in the tournament, as it really does enter the business end of it now. Group stages were brilliant, but now the last 16, it's time to look at who got the easiest draw, who got the tougher draws, and what are the standout games. I'm just going to list, Nick, the last 16 games here. So, I can see by your reactions already, you're looking forward to a couple of them, but Belgium against Portugal, Italy against Austria, France against Switzerland, Croatia against Spain. That's one side of the last 16 bracket. The other side, that's crazy. I mean, yeah, that's absolutely bonkers. And the other side, I would say slightly easier. So we have Sweden against Ukraine, England against Germany, which is obviously a blockbuster game, the Netherlands against the Czech Republic, and Wales against Denmark after Denmark's miraculous win against Russia that sealed their spot in the last 16. So, Nick, what jumps off the page there for you? I think two games, Belgium against Portugal and England, Germany, right, are the first two that jump off the page. But we have Croatia against Spain as well, which is a really good game. So some mouth-watering ties there in the last 16.
For me, I think you're splitting the bracket, not just in terms of is this better or the big juicy matchups are here, but the storylines, because of all the underdogs in the bottom, so to speak, are fascinating, right? Like you can make an argument for, obviously, with what's happened with Christian Eriksen in Denmark and the way that Kasper Schmeichel has come out and kind of captured this, calling basically the way that his country has backed their team after that really scary incident as, there's a team of destiny vibe there. Wales has the whole Gareth Bale scenario. The Dutch, shocked perhaps that their manager is working out in the way it is. England, team of quote unquote destiny, right? And having to get past Germany to do it. Sweden having a Kulusevski, a fantastic player who's barely featured. And you kind of look at those little teams who are not little teams, but look at those little storylines that are going to be branded as, are we in a team of destiny? Is this aligning? Are the stars aligning for us? And then you look at the top and you think about those managers, whether it's Roberto Martinez, Roberto Mancini, Didier Deschamps, Croatia, Portugal, Switzerland. These are all long-term building situations. And you could have a legendary manager you could just cement his legacy out of that top half. So a lot of reasons to already look and imagine what's your favorite final, right?
It's incredible. When we look at like the way the bracket's shaping up, so Belgium, Portugal, the winner of that game will play the winner of Italy, Austria, and France, Switzerland, the winner of that game will play the winner of Croatia, Spain. So if we're looking at those brackets there, I mean, I would probably go Belgium, Italy in one quarterfinal, and then France, Spain in another. I mean, it doesn't get much more heavyweight than that, does it? That is all of the favourites really there on that side of the bracket. And if we look at the other one, though, England, Germany will play the winner of Sweden, Ukraine, which you'd have to say England, Germany, whoever wins that game will really fancy their chances of at least getting to the semi-finals. No disrespect to Sweden or Ukraine, but they're clearly the underdogs there. And the Netherlands play the Czech Republic. The winner of that game will play the winner of Wales, Denmark in the quarterfinals. So maybe the Netherlands are really, everyone's given Frank de Boer a lot of stick, but they've looked pretty good, especially going forward on that side of the bracket. So to talk about who's been handed the tougher draw, who's been handed the easiest draw, would you say that England or Germany, they would be, they're not happy to probably play each other in the last 16, but they will be the happier looking at the bracket as long as they can get through that 90 minutes of Wembley in advance, right?
Yeah, they would absolutely trade this 90 minutes to not have it happen in 2 rounds, I think. They would rather get past this one. I just kind of look at it through, I don't know if this happens for you, Joe, a lot. When we get to this stage of a tournament, I start to look at it through like the league lens. So I don't see Belgium and Portugal. I see De Bruyne against Bernardo Silva. I don't see England, Germany. I see Werner and Havertz against Mason Mount and those plot lines that kind of drive it. There was a picture before the last Portugal game that we used on Pro Soccer Talk, and it had Bruno Fernandes and Cristiano Ronaldo. I think it was your post, and I was like, yeah, that's right. They're on the same team here. So for me, watching this game, I start to think about the Premier League implications, and that's why I'm a little scared of the Czech Republic. That's where I'm going here, because they have that West Ham vibe flowing through the team as well. So yes, this England-Germany one, to me, definitely dictates who I think will win that side of the bracket. The rest, I mean, make a case for anybody as the tournament dark horse.
So let's focus on England, Germany, though, because I know that's going to be one, where most of the eyes are going to be on at Wembley Stadium. England will have a home crowd, be 45,000 fans at Wembley, so that's going to be a great atmosphere. For England, I've been at their games. As I said, my analysis of the situation is that they've played within themselves. They've got the job done. They've been great defensively, have yet to concede a goal, which, for England, usually there's a big mistake or two in a big tournament, but that hasn't been the case. Going forward against the Czech Republic in the game I was at this week at Wembley, very promising, especially with Grealish and Bukayo Saka and Sterling. The movement, the fluid attacks seem to get the best out of Harry Kane as well. He came closest to scoring. He hasn't scored yet in the tournament, but came very close against the Czech Republic. Looked a lot better, had a bit more space to operate in. So I'm not worried about England defensively. I just think going forward, I want to see a bit more. And with Mason Mount's situation where he's self-isolating, he's not going to be ready to play against Germany, it looks like. So Grealish will probably be handed the keys to that attack. But if I'm England, obviously it's Germany. There's a lot of history, a lot of competitions they've been knocked out of over the years. You don't need to remind me that 25 years ago, England lost at Wembley in the semi-finals at the European Championships to Germany on penalty shootouts. Gareth Southgate, the current England manager, missed the penalty for England that got them knocked out of the home tournament. It's so crazy. 25 years on, all the stars are aligning and storylines, as you said, are swirling. But if I'm England, I'm actually looking at this Germany team who tied at home against Hungary, who lost against, obviously, France in the opening game and did not look good. And defensively, didn't look great against Portugal. So, yes, there's a lot about Germany, England over the years that seems to favour Germany. But I wouldn't be too upset if I'm England to play this game. Do you agree with that? Or I think you're kind of siding with Germany, right? Just given their players and maybe the experience they have in tournaments.
Yeah, I'm asking if that can that both be true? Can those things both be true? Because if I'm England, I think I like my chances of getting by Germany, and I like my chances of going to the final because there's something amazing. There's an amazing stat within this English team, and wrote about it last night at ProSoccerTalk.com. If you go to a certain statistical website, you're going to find that England did not allow a single big chance. And wow. you kind of think to yourself, oh, well, is that stat real? What is that stat? And then you go through the games in your head and go, that's right. Did you ever feel like Jordan Pickford's net was really under fire? And he's a great shot stopper as it is. So if you're in the position of thinking, and as you know, I'm not a big fan of Pickford on the whole as a metronome, as a guy who's going to keep play going. But if you just want one guy who's going to have to make one or two big saves, which Germany is, that's what they're kind of producing at, one or two really dangerous chances a game. I think England is really well set up here in the way that Southgate, I'll give him full credit. There's a little bit of an Italian background to the way he's played this game just to win. Get that goal, call it a day by any means necessary. Tyrone Mings taking the skin off of all the attackers' legs with just hard foul after hard foul, never in a bad position, cycling through Stones and Maguire. And I love Rice and Phillips on top of them. And we haven't even seen really much of Jordan Henderson if you need to throw an X factor in there. So if I'm England, I'm thinking, who's going to score on us? And we'll find a way to score. We have the talent, but who's going to score on us? And that's where my confidence lies.
Yeah, you've almost talked me around there. I know Andy's not here, but usually he's all on the England bandwagon and football's coming home. But I do agree with you there that as long England can keep a clean sheet against this German side, when I look at Kai Havertz and Gnabry and some of the players, they haven't quite got going in this tournament. I know they've scored a couple of goals, but yeah, it's for England. This is a decent matchup because they've been very pragmatic. Southgate as a player was a very cultured centre back. Didn't take a lot of risks. Doesn't take a lot of risks as a manager. It's driving people crazy a little bit here. They want England to go out and use all of their attacking players at the same time, but you can't do that in a tournament. You have to ease yourself in. And I think Southgate's still figuring out his best team, especially in attack. With Grealish, looks like he may start again. Saka, be interested if he starts. Maybe Phil Foden will start in this game. But then Sterling and Harry Kane, I think, are the talisman of this attack, and they will definitely start. But as you said, Pickford and the back four of Walker, Stones, Maguire and Shaw, solid as a rock. And then Phillips and Rice will probably start, but then Henderson is not a bad guy to have off the bench to settle things down if you need it as well. Premier League winning captain and Champions League winning captain. So England, Germany, going to be exciting. I think it'll be a very tight tactical battle, but it's kind of the end of the era for this German team. I think with the handover from Joachim Löw, obviously the Hansi Flick, you've got a few veterans, a lot of good young players coming through. I think England are kind of more in their prime overall if you look at this team. So I'd fancy them. I fancy them to do that. And then if we look at obviously Belgium, Portugal, you mentioned it about the superstars there. Cristiano Ronaldo, Bruno Fernandes, who hasn't had a great tournament, but then you have Bernardo Silva and Diogo Jota backing him up. And Belgium, Lukaku and De Bruyne have been great. Obviously, De Bruyne working his way back to fitness. Eden Hazard too. So many good attacking weapons for both Belgium and Portugal. Is this just going to be a goal fest, Nick? Because defensively, those two teams have struggled a little bit in this tournament. But surely this can be a 4-all or a 3-all kind of game, couldn't it?
It sure could. I think really it comes down to that savvy of Belgium. And again, when we go back to the history of Roberto Martinez, and we saw him really make his strides, right, through the Premier League, through competitions, through tournament competitions, right? One of the surprises of this century, is that fair to say, what he pulled off in the Cup? I think he's the guy, when I say a manager with an opportunity to just print money for the rest of his career. You look back at his time being, dismissed from Everton and think, well, have they figured it out since then? Right. And you look at the other teams that have said, oh, he's not good enough. And now I look at Belgium, and will he have a system designed to deal with the threat of Ronaldo and Bernardo Silva? And I kind of think he will, because that aging defense is also a savvy defense. And I'll make the same point that I would make, and I will make, for Germany if we were just making this prediction. He's got players who have won at every level, right? Yeah. He's got Rudiger, Germany has Rudiger who's won. Belgium has guys who have won the Premier League and the Champions League. And Lukaku, with what he pulled off with Inter Milan and ending Juventus's incredible run of Scudetto, or Scudetti, right? Am I right here? I mean, the vowel in my last name says I should get that right. But the point I want to make is I think Roberto Martinez has a chance to really etch his name in history here.
He kind of has to, though, right? With this golden generation of Belgium. I think the pressure's more on them because Portugal won the last Euros, and they're relying on Ronaldo, of course, and those great attacking players. But I think Portugal will have a bit more freedom than Belgium maybe heading into this game. Do you agree with that?
I do. I do. And again, they're also probably thinking of themselves as they already have the best player in the history of their country, right? And think about the attackers who have come through that country, right? Think about just the team alone that the U.S. beat at the World Cup in 2002. You're talking about Deco and all these great names. And Ronaldo wasn't even on the field when they won Euro. And that's why I think he is so fired up, because that man's ego is bigger than the entire combined ego of the rest of the tournament. And so he wants to be out there on the field, scoring the winning goal for Portugal. And, he's an icon in that country. And I wouldn't be surprised if he is something that pushes them maybe a couple rounds further than we thought.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I had them at the start of the tournament.
You did.
They haven't been great defensively, like I said, but it seems to me like it's down to Ronaldo and Lukaku in that game. Whoever is on fire, whoever's on form and puts away the many chances that those playmakers, De Bruyne, Jota, Fernandes, create for them, and that's the winner in that game. Obviously, Italy, we mentioned, had a really good tournament. They're playing Austria at Wembley, so you'd think they'd make it through. France against Switzerland, again, you think France would make it through. They've shown just enough in their game so far to suggest Mbappe, Benzema, Pogba, Griezmann will find a way to get it done. And Croatia-Spain's very interesting tactically for me, because Modric, of course, was brilliant and just getting Croatia over the line and out of the group stage. But Spain, they obviously hammered Slovakia. I'm not sure we're going to take too much from that because Slovakia were pretty awful. But if Alvaro Morata, even if he doesn't score, I think his hold-up play is important for Spain. And you've got all those great attacking midfielders that keep the ball, love to possess it, and are just so patient. So Spain will be dangerous, I think, the longer they stay in this tournament, if they do. And I want to ask you about the dark horses. This is something we always talk about. Sweden, I tweeted earlier, they're always a team we always seem to count out. And then at every tournament, you're like, oh, hey, Sweden are in the quarterfinals again. Look at them go. So for me, they're my dark horse. When you look at the bracket as well, playing Ukraine and then maybe England or Germany in the quarters. And Czech Republic, you mentioned you like. And I'd still class the Netherlands as a dark horse considering their recent tournament success. What do you think about? Anybody else that really sticks out to you?
Well, I mean, we mentioned it earlier. I think there's a natural pull, maybe for most of us, except when they're playing our country for Denmark here. Also, because I think even if the absolutely horrendous thing that happened with Christian Eriksen, even if that didn't happen, you kind of look at the players on that team, very likable, perhaps led by Schmeichel and Eriksen in terms of their on-field style. Schmeichel, to me, is one of the unheralded goalkeepers in the world. Won a Premier League, right? Has won the most unlikely Premier League and has delivered on the national team level. So for me, I kind of want to say this. The reason I worry for England and Germany here, the expectation everywhere else is going to be behind their teams, propping them for, maybe not for the Netherlands, but Wales, Denmark, Czech Republic, Ukraine, Sweden. All these are going to be being lifted up. Whereas, are you going to? And I'm this way with England. I can't believe they're not giving Sancho a chance, right? And it becomes a storyline, and it mushrooms, and it grows, and it festers. And the minute that this gets to the 75th minute and it's 0-0, or the 105th minute and the subs are being, is that going to creep into the players and coaches' mentality? So big one, I think, for both Southgate and Lowe. And is that why you favor Germany? Because Lowe's done it and he's got nothing to lose.
Yeah, one last hurrah for Germany and Jochen Low. So finally, what do you hope to see in the last 16? Anything in particular with these group stage finales? It was great. It was dramatic. Is there any danger of maybe some teams being a bit more tired? I'm looking at maybe Germany, Portugal, and France after so many tough games in the group stage. Could they actually be struggling in the knockout rounds? Because if you look at other teams, they've had the luxury of resting key players late in the group stage.
Yeah, the style. Can you what I would say is, can you turn the intensity on and off? Not that anybody did that, because look at Italy when they made their 8 changes or whatever it was for their final group stage game. It was 8 guys who were trying to make a point, right? I want to play in the knockout rounds. So there's that too. But the style is what I'm most looking forward to. I think France-Switzerland has the capable of, even with France's great defense, has the capability of being 4-3. Spain-Croatia could be, all of these games, except maybe Wales-Denmark, has the chance to be one of those 6-7 goal thrillers. And I'm looking forward to that because I like to be entertained, Joe.
Oh, don't we all, Nick? Don't we all? I think we will be, because, the group stage, the way it finished, I feel like this tournament's just been building up slow and steady, a bit of a crescendo. And now we've hit, the absolute business stage of this tournament. I spoke to Bukayo Saka at Wembley after that and said, does the tournament start now for you? And he said, absolutely. We're feeling confident going into the last 16. I feel like a lot of players now, the superstars, that's really when you see them stepping up and saying, you know what, we're going to take this tournament by the scruff of the neck. So here at Pro Soccer Talk at NBCSports.com, we'll be doing exactly the same. We'll be giving you analysis and coverage of Euro 2020 throughout the knockout rounds. Nick, Andy, and I will keep you covered. Really looking forward to that. It's going to be brilliant to cover all of these games. And yeah, as we said, Belgium, Portugal, Croatia, Spain, and England against Germany. Those are some of the standout ties in the last 16 to look out for.